So welcome back to the channel. We are back in the rental. So this is the property that I intend to BRRR. And in the last video, we did the deep clean, and I let you know that we've decided to do this one ourselves instead of contracting it out. But first, hi, I'm Sabrina, and I'm failing forward in real estate to build a more durable life. And in this video, I'm just gonna give you an update on how things are going and the progress that we've made. So as you can tell, we're certainly still in the middle of the mess, and we are prepping the house for paint and those final touches. But I also wanted to chat about this idea that's been in my head lately, and this concept of this property and this experience being an experiment, and how that framing is like guiding our decisions. So as I've mentioned before, my whole career background is in research and academia. And when we run an experiment, we do it because we are trying to test a hypothesis or an assumption. We think something will be a certain way, and we've got, several variables that we're wanting to see how they relate to each other and what the outcomes are going to be. And I'm really using that perspective as I think about this project, because there are a lot of new variables involved. This is the first property that I'm buying in this market. This is the first time that I've bought a property using an intentional buy box. This is the first property that I am going into it with the strategy of doing a BRRR, which is actually a bit of an advanced strategy because it in many ways combines a rental strategy with a flipping strategy, because you need both the rent, so you need to understand the rental market and the rental demand. And also because you want to refinance on the back end, you need to understand ARV and what the value of the house is going to be once you fix it up. And so that's new. This will also be the first time that I'm using professional property management. Up until now, I've self-managed the properties that we have. And it's the first time that we're doing a rental grade repair instead of, kind of ripping it out and doing a full renovation. And so this is really leading to questions around, kind of upfront costs and the long-term maintenance, all within the context of we're running an experiment. And so many of these things we just don't know for sure. We don't have the data to know exactly what it is that we should be doing. And so we're really trying to test this question of what are the necessities? What do we have to do versus what are the nice to haves that we really have to wait for time to tell if those are things that we necessarily have to do. And so when I say that I'm really seeing this property and this experience as an experiment, it means that the overall goal isn't, to kind of like knock this out of the park or to get everything perfect. But really, I'm trying to develop a proof of concept. We need to check our assumptions. We need to validate our systems. We need to know if these decisions that we're making are, going to work out or not. And so the goal here is learning, not optimization exactly. So of course, I want the numbers to work out. I hope that things go as planned, but I'm really trying to lean into the idea that I just don't have the data, and this property, this experience is going to be what gives us this data to actually know what decisions were good and which ones didn't work and what we want to tweak, because you don't want to just kind of scale up and keep doing the same things over and over again if they're the wrong things. You need to have an experience to learn what works and what doesn't, so you can double down on what works instead of accidentally repeating what doesn't work. And so where are we? I would say for the most part, things are pretty much going according to plan. There haven't been too many big red flags or things that were just totally unexpected. But some stuff is certainly slower than we thought. So one example is the ceilings. So we knew that there were a couple of cracks that needed repairing, but we've since found a few more. And so I also think that the decision to do this on our own was also still a good decision because with this time, we're really in the property and knowing, what things to look out for and which things we should go ahead and repair now. And I'm certain that if we would have contracted this out, that a different contractor probably would have just done a minor repair, just put some caulk in it and it would have looked fine. And I would have never known, that there was a better way to do it because I wouldn't have known what was underneath. And so that's been really good. We also had the main water that's in the crawl space under the house that had a leak. So it wasn't leaking before, but when we shut the water off to take the dishwasher out because we need to install new appliances, we found the leak. And so again, like things like that, when you can have the time in the property to be doing those things and look out for them and care about it, because that is certainly something that, that we need to repair, that we have repaired, because that is certainly important for the long-term sustainability of the property. But yeah, so like I said, so no big red flags, but certainly some things like the main water valve leak that I'm glad that we were here. I'm glad that we saw it. I'm glad that we got it fixed. Real quick, Sabrina from the future here. One other thing that slowed us down is that someone took out our mailbox. So we were having people come and clear out the stuff from the yard. So pro tip, if you've got things like cinder blocks, bricks, or wood that you need cleared out of a property, I always list them on Facebook Market for free. Because I want them to get out as quickly as possible and not have to pay for any kind of haul away service. So I did that, and as the guy was coming to back up to get the cinder blocks from the yard, he completely took out the mailbox. Now, they were nice enough to go home, get the materials, and come back to rebuild us a new one. Now, is it as nice as the one that they knocked down? No. But how often do you meet strangers on Facebook who are willing to, correct the mistake like that? So that is something else that was a surprise that has slowed us down a little bit. And so, yeah, so like I said, this idea of like this experiment is really shaping, kind of all decisions, big ones, small ones, and like trying to keep the focus on, we need this experience to be able to get the information that we need. And then let's be clear, once this is all done, I think in many ways, once the property is ready to rent, that's really where the real work begins, because there's a whole nother set of things, right? Like, will we get the rent that we anticipate? What is it going to be like to work with property management? And as I mentioned, this is a BRRRR, so then we still have the second leg of the refinance and working with the bank, and will the value come in as expected, and will the bank give the loan to value that I'm expecting, and what is that going to be like, in a few months when it's ready? And so there's so many variables and so many kind of moving parts that we are just not sure about, that this property is going to give us the opportunity to get that data on. So I'm going to know a lot more in a few months from now than I know today. And in many ways, like, that's the point, right? This is our first try at this strategy in this market with this management in this way. And so this has got to be a learning experience. So yeah, so that's where we are. Like I said, certainly still in the thick of it. And even when this place is all pretty and ready to go, we'll still be in the thick of it, because there'll still be lots of steps, lots of phases, lots of things to figure out. But I will certainly keep you updated every step of the way. And so thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go get back to prepping.